Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast, the voice of bodybuilding. And today's voice is John, the business coach. So John is my first and only business mentor who helped me gain success as an online coach. And we both had a chat and we were like, do you know what? I think an episode could be really, really cool for the listeners, for coaches, but also for clients to understand a little bit more about the coaching space. So thank you, first of all, for coming on.
You're welcome. Hello. Thank you. How are you, mate?
It's cool for us to do this because you brought a lot to my life, and of course, you know, your relationship with Matt and I, we are in the inner circle, and we are, you know, genuinely wanting to help the community. And Matt often says, you know, John is salt of the earth, because ordinarily you could think potentially that a business mentor, you know, it's maybe not from the stance that you're from. And we're going to talk today about how you can remain authentic, but what that actually looks like as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think we were talking earlier, but it's so, if anyone who's looking to like grow online, if they're in the gym floor or if they've got a passion, they want to make the coaching, make their passion of training and helping others into like a proper business which funds your life. Like you guys, like fucking love it. Seeing you guys out there in time, it just just makes me smile every single time. It makes me smile that you're out there smashing it. But you're incredibly good at what you do, which is a massive component. But anyone who's looking to do that, the thing, if you look to grow online, there are obviously loads of options with mentorships. But what we were talking about is it's very easy. It seems like there's one option, the tactics. Like go in there, you have to sell your soul a little bit. Now you have to get into the outside the comfort zone, but you have to sell the soul, become sleazy, and then absorb someone else's personality type. And I'm talking from direct experience, which we'll talk about in further detail later. But you don't have to. And I think if there's anything I want to communicate on this episode or on this opportunity, which I'm loving and to be grateful to be a part of, is there's many ways to grow your business with keeping your own identity, your integrity intact, and you just being you. You do not have to become someone else. You have to improve your skills, but you don't have to change your values and ethics. And that if anything, changing your values and your ethics and what you truly believe in is so destructive long term. And it's how you look at it. Are you in this for like a serious long-term sustainable future where this is going to be your career going forwards, which is going to compound, or are you just interested in making money just to get out the immediate pain?
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like as well, you know, on that note, if you're in a small industry like bodybuilding, as our probably main example today, and fitness in general, you know, when you niche down to the bodybuilding realm, it is actually a small industry. But I think that when you're a bodybuilder, you start to follow bodybuilders, you start to engage with other bodybuilders, whether you're a coach or you're a bodybuilder yourself, and you think that it's quite a vast space. But actually, what I've certainly found myself being an online coach and having the podcast is that people start to get to know each other. So if you're not looking at the long-term picture and it's short-term thinking, and like you say, trying to get money and maybe not being as authentic as you could be, if you're stepping on other coaches' toes, things like this, respect is earned. And that's what I've learned myself. You know, I can't get the guests I do on the podcast without them vetting me, buying into me as a person, and then building friendships with people. You know, I had Stan on, who you're a big fan of, and, you know, speaking with him and him saying, really enjoyed podcasting with you, and he's opened up opportunities to do that again. You know, this type of thing, it takes years in the industries to build respect, but that respect can be taken very, very quickly. And I think that sometimes we maybe can become so focused on the money, the amount of clients we have, and we maybe don't look at that long-term picture.
100%. You can take years and years to build up your reputation. You can destroy it immediately. And to be honest, like if we go, but actually, when I was working with another company, I was working with the pair of you whilst I was part of that company. And when you met the other individuals in that company and you kind of quit immediately, that was my wake up call that I was in the wrong vehicle.
Was it?
That was like, I was like, if these two guys, you're both genuine people, you actually focus on service first, and you have the integrity to construct something you're genuinely proud of and which can make a difference, and then you market it, rather than like, let's go market and then get the sale. Right, shit, we got to make this up.
Yeah.
Panic.
Yeah.
When you quit, it was just like, whoa. Okay, I agree with like you both of you doing it. I'm like, there's something, they're not wrong. There's something wrong with the system. And it's being fooled by social media, because you think there's an infinite number of people there, and it's literally like slash and burn. You can just go through. But like you said, guess what? People have memories and people talk.
Yes.
So when you combine those two facts, whatever you do carries. And inversely, if you do it in a proactive, positive way, you look at the benefits. You conduct yourself with integrity. You relax in the fact that you're not going to get immediate feedback. No one's going to tell you oh, by the way, I'm talking to all my friends saying how good you are. Yeah. And I'll update you every month and tell you, oh, I'm talking to my friends and telling how good you are. Yeah. But if you use it correctly and you conduct yourself well, you'll get word of mouth marketing. You'll get inquiries come through. And what I'm targeting now is at least 60% of inquiries for everyone I work with. I want to get them to a point where 60% of clients come through referrals. Because if you focus on service and you conduct yourself well, you get to the point where you don't have to massively push social media. You're not on this treadmill for life where you're just like living to post, living to get your stories up, and then literally sucking at the teat of Mark Zuckerberg, which is just like it's a painful existence when you literally look at it now and it's got to extrapolate into the future. So it carries, like sometimes, well, the long game's sometimes the quickest game, because, don't fall prey to using tactics for tactics' sake and just getting the quick buck. Take it slowly, conduct yourself with integrity. Word of mouth will travel.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, social media, we could probably do a 4-hour podcast on that, because, there's so much to it, and it is difficult to sometimes stay authentic, potentially when you create a post or you create reels and you're starting out, for anyone listening that's sort of in the early days of online coaching, and you are creating content and maybe it's not getting many views, maybe it's not getting many likes. Some of my stuff doesn't get many likes, and previously, mental health wise, it can really hit because you've taken a lot of time to do a long form post, or you've made a reel and you're really happy with it. And then you think, shit, nobody likes me.
This is so important. Sorry, I've really got to say this. So again, it's so hard when you don't go through it, you don't know what's actually important. You fall trapped to the prey of like, all these people are talking about likes, engagement. And I remember I saw a young kid, he literally posted a video of him benching, and then he had like a like a cable, which I'm recording, a rope. He had a rope, like a tricep pull down rope, and he just dangling that on his face. And the quote was, "When Mandingo spots you." And I'm thinking, what the living fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Why are you? And he's trying to get viral, and it's just like such bullshit. Your role is, you're not. It's not about likes. It's not even about views. It's about impact, and no one really talks about that. And every single person I work with, I hammer it down. And again, we're conditioned to look for likes and engagement. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. You've just got to deliver the content to one post, deliver it to one individual, like you're speaking directly to that person. And that's all you have to do. Don't worry about likes. Do not worry about views at this point, because if you can consistently do that, and you do that once a day, you've got 365 leads, warm leads per year. That's 4 times the capacity of an average coach. Now, you're never going to see the feedback initially. Again, it's now, if you look at the gym, delayed gratification, I want to grow my quads. I go and do a set on squats, which is terrible because I'm shit at it. I come back, I look, my legs haven't grown. Fuck this, this doesn't work. It's just like, okay, try that in 6 months, then look at the picture. So it's the same with your content. So again, I appreciate how hard it is for people when you don't know that, and then you're looking because you're engineered to think, oh, no one likes me. I'm putting all this effort. I've got a lot of care into this, done some research. I post it, it gets 300 views, and I got 2 likes, or no one likes it. To you, that feels like, no, I'm not important. No one likes and is engaging with me. And am I wasting my time? You do that once or twice and it feels like that. then you go at the present moment, you look into the future and you go, what the fuck am I doing? Am I wasting my time? Question, frustration, pain, and suffering. Whereas in actuality, I know for a fact that one guy, he did a post, it got like 4 likes, it had 300 views, he had 9 grand in sales off that post because he got 3 people inquire and he sold 3-month upfront packages with each one. But it's, you know, he has 8,000 views on some of his reels, got fuck all. One reel, really poignant, 300 views, 9 grand. And it's just a perfect example of you're here to deliver impact with your content to the person who needs it. You put other people's interests above your own. And if you act like that and you continually do it, you will get results so much more quickly. And trust me, you will. For the last 6 weeks, or like, I think it's 8 weeks or so since I've properly done my own thing, I've been blown away by, if I'm just in that vehicle and I can use that approach, I've literally like 4-5x my business by acting in that way. Yeah. And, you know, it does come back actually surprisingly quickly compared to what you think. Whereas I've spent 2 years with these tactics.
Yeah.
And it, you know, 3 tips. If you want to watch,
yeah, oh, no, yeah. It's true. It's not, yeah.
Yeah. Like if you don't want to build muscle, skip this video. And it's just like, oh, fuck.
Get some egos going.
Yeah. And it's just like that. And then, but what, you know, if you start doing that, it's like instant distrust. Yeah. Instant distrust. And it's just like, you do that over time, people look at you and they're like, that you're not you. You're just this shell of attack. You're like this coaching shell of who you actually are. And people know it. Where if you just be decent, deliver impact instead of engineering your content for likes and engagement, and just keep doing it, be consistent, the results will come. They always do.
Yeah, for sure. I really like that you mentioned actually where you said talking to a person, because that's a big thing that I picked up from yourself, is that when I'm recording something, it's almost like when you build your avatar, right? So this is something we can talk about, but you know, when you're recording for a reel, it's like, is there one person that sort of fits in with your demographic or who you're aiming your content at? Or maybe it's a current client, which is sometimes my thought process. So I think, you know, in this week's check-in, this client was struggling with this, and then another 2 clients were struggling with a similar type of thing. So then what I've learned to do is almost amalgamate the 3, that there's similar problems, but it's not targeting and, you know, using one client. It's like, what's the trend here for 3 clients? They're experiencing the same sort of troubles, and then you can conduct something to almost speak to them as well. And I feel like that's almost a retention tool, because I'll tag my clients if it's appropriate, and, you know, continue to build that trust. And sometimes I feel like, you know, particularly with the podcast as well, it's like giving people a voice. So I'm struggling with something, well, Sarah's struggled with that as well, and it might not directly gain a client straight away, but what you also taught me was this period of contemplation. So that could be someone thinking about having a coach, or you being a coach, or their current coach, something changes there. You might be their first port of call in 12 months time, but it's not right now that they choose to coach with you. So again, it's a long-term thinking and trying to make your content relevant. And also, I feel like if I can say, look, for 10 years, I've struggled with scale weight. It's absolutely fucked me. I'm sure many of you will understand this is what I've done to overcome it. You know, an example like that with bodybuilding, and people go, wow, okay, so that's useful, rather than just, don't worry about scale weight. Another sort of tactic where it's like, it's very flippant, and it's like, there's people here that are really fucking struggling mentally, and this is a gripe of mine, as you can tell, where you see content that is not helpful to someone that's struggling, it's saying you should just get over it and carry on. And that's something I struggle with myself when I see it, because I know how people struggle in the bodybuilding world.
Yeah, so there's an actual element there which you highlighted, is intent. Yeah. So that's a massive thing. So bringing intent to the actual content, it's important. It's really hard to track. There's no actual like ways to think about this, but if you're delivering your the easiest thing to do is like, yeah, whatever your clients are going through, you speak about what they're going through, and you speak to the camera like you're talking to the client. you will automatically get the intent there because it's raw, it's like just happened. But when you don't bring intent, it feels you feel vacant, you feel hollow, and it's just content for content's sake. And I've learned this myself. Like I was very informative heavy. Like my content was very sort of like trying to give value, and I was like, I'm going to talk about this topic. And recently I did yeah, I'm going to talk about this, and then people are like, oh, fucking boring. And then I did a video about who I am and who I help. And then I think I was just generally like, it was 4-minute video, 5-minute video. It got like 8 times the views that I normally get on my brand new account. And I think it's just because I just genuinely just wanted to talk about it. And if you know, I think what you were saying earlier is really important as well. Is it patience or holding your nerve? Because again, if you can detach yourself from getting the quick sale, you will win at this game. Because all you have to do is create 2 objectives rather than 1. Rather than get a sign up, the first thing you should only focus on is how can I help and indirectly build trust. That's all you have to do. And then the phase 2, the result 2 will take care of itself. So many people are like, they want to jump the gun and go straight into like, you know, now that I've posted some stuff, now that I've given you some resources, when are we going to talk about you paying me? You know, because I've done my bit. When are you going to live up to your? It's like, you know, people are just following you. You're in the headspace for 10 seconds, and it's just like your expectation for me to then reciprocate is ridiculous. Whereas if you remove the expectation, just say your bit, you know how people struggle because you've gone through it. So your goal and the intent of that bit of content is to genuinely help that person with the mindset to save them from the trouble that you went through. Or if you haven't gone through it, you've got your client and you know the struggle you're going through as a coach. And then when you put that into content, the intent is to genuinely help people. And again, be careful because you might not get the likes, the engagement, the views on that, but that's what actually matters. And if we're being flippant, that generates inquiries. But you know, that's what you need to get paid. You want to help people, and the best way you can help people is them paying you, because if they don't pay you, they don't invest themselves, and there's no risk on them. So it needs to end in that. But it's just the patience and look like having a bit of delay, and that's all it takes. And like I always hated it, but I cannot stand like closing on calls of just like, you know, close that one, like, you know, 𝗏𝗵𝗲𝗃 like blows his pistol, put it in his pocket from what film is it? Oh God, Happy Gilmore. Yeah, 𝗏𝗵𝗲𝗃, get him, shooter, get him. And it's just like, it's such bollocks. But you know, sometimes people just genuinely need to think about it. And if you look, my approach, if you handle the conversation correctly and the call structure we've set out you're happy with, and you've done your bit, you've displayed yourself how you want to display yourself, that is designed to attract and convert the right person. If the person falls through that net, they're meant to get them away. They're not for you. But genuinely, literally, if someone like is on a call with me and they want to kind of think about it, like, yeah, a good deal now is a good deal later. Go away.
Yeah, for
think
sure.
about it.
Exactly.
If you need to think too much, you're probably not. Now's not the right time.
Yeah.
And it's like I conduct yourself with integrity. Put their best interest in front of yours. Look, worst case scenario, that person just doesn't want to do it. But guess what? Anyone who does, they know who they're going to recommend, because you haven't pressurized the living shit out of them. So it's just like how it adds up over time. And you know, the reason why you guys are so good at what you do, and you know, obviously the referrals are so strong, yourself and Matt, is because you care about the person. It comes across in your content, so you attract them. But when you get on the back end of the service, like with Matt, and those periods like throughout the last 2 years where it's like tough for me, like mentally tough, really mentally tough. And I'm like, Matt, I got it. And he was just so decent. He's like, mate, no problem. It's all love. You know, I'm here to help you. And he would help me regardless.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would technically wouldn't pay him.
Yeah.
And then he'd give me some pointers and he'd give me some stuff, and he'd left my plan open. He's like, there you go. I'll check in with him. I'd report in with him. And then, you know, he cares. So guess what happens? When I can, I'm going straight back, and I have. And it's the little stuff. It's how you do it. not so much what you do, it's how you do it, which makes all the difference. It's genuinely how you do it.
Yeah, for sure. And a valid point as well with how long you keep clients, right? And, you know, for me, it's always trying to look at, I want to, you know, if I can be a coach for someone for, okay, rest of your life might sound a little bit extreme, but my own take on coaching myself is that my first coach I was with for near on 8 years, and then my coach Tom now, unless something happens, you know, my thinking is I'll always want a coach. You know, I had a few months without one, and it was like I feel very, very strange, and I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, it like I say, unless something happens, then I see Tom as my coach for the rest of my days. I wouldn't want to not have a coach, and that's what I try to install in my own clients. You know, we're looking at timeline and we're looking at different phases like you and Matt do, and it's about also you gaining education and tools to, if one day you do part ways or you need some time, you know, in between coaching or whatever, you've got enough there to be able to still achieve goals. But then if you want to, or if you can come back. And it's always trying to give as much of what we know to the clients. And I think that's important as well when you're a coach. And my coach said this right off the bat to me when I first started out. He said, my job is to give you every bit of education and knowledge I've got. That's, I want to give that to you. He wasn't holding things back to keep clients. It was like, I want to give you everything. And there did, truth be told, get to a point where I could have probably coached myself. You know, I'd done multiple preps, etc., but I didn't want to. I wanted to pay for that service like a utility bill. And that was, you know, until he changed career, it was like, he's my person. And there was times where it wasn't really physique based. It was actually, you know, going through trauma in life. So what you've touched on there, mental health struggles, etc. We would just talk about that. And it was like, okay, so you know what food to eat, you know what training to do. Let's talk about this. And I can't see life without a coach. And that's super important. I feel like, you know, for coaches that are looking to do this for a long period of time, having clients that are with you for multiple years, you know, it is, you've got to offer value for that. But you also, as a coach, and this is a big bit of advice from me, is that you don't want to sell dreams. You don't want to pretend to be a specialist. You don't want to have to fictitiously make up goals for them to stay engaged. What you do want to do is understand the client, be in their head as much as possible, and be able to construct a timeline. And this goes for lifestyle and competition clients, you know, being able to bring value in all areas of life. And some coaches don't want to do that. You know, it's more, here's a plan, there you go. Maybe some clients prefer that route as well. But I guess from my point of view, it's understanding what sits with your moral compass to enjoy your job. The last thing you want is every day thinking, fucking hell, I've got to answer these messages, I've got to speak to these people, I'm not enjoying this, because then what happens, you know?
Yeah, it's and that comes back into the content, like how you deliver your message determines who you attract. So it's also like, who do you want to attract as a person? What sort of clients do you want to have? And I think when you look at client lifetime, obviously the first period, you probably want to focus on the result as much as possible whilst giving that information. So within the first 6 months, there's like a trust building. There's initial vetting, trust building, obviously setting expectations, giving someone a projection, because you as the coach, you're always going to see farther than they will. So when they first start with you, you want to give them a forecast, and that will be exciting. And then when they're living through and they're kind of living up to this forecast, they see the results. And then it really comes down to, like you said, educating them. And the relationship shifts from being, you know, the weight coming from results and the reason for them staying with you coming from results. It then moves into like a support network. And then that's where relationship building is so important. And that's where you have to pull yourself away and accept the fact that you've got to act in their best interest. It's not just to retain for the sake of retention. It's about what do they want, getting to know them and being human. I've worked with some people. I've just said, like, you know, the retention's been off. I'm like, you know, like literally sign up, within 8 weeks, they're gone. I'm like, okay, something going wrong here. And again, my whole area now, I'm so anally focused on service, because there's no point having a revolving door where people come on and go off again. But some people are there. I say, what's this guy? Does this guy have kids? You know, your client. What's his name? Does he have kids? I don't know. What does he do for work? I don't know. What's his hobbies? When's his birthday? I don't know. I don't know. It's like, what the fuck are you doing working with people then? Like you have, this is where being a human being comes in, and it's not really talked about because everyone's focused on the shiny object tactic to acquire. But acquisition doesn't mean toffee if you can't hold. And it's like the quickest way to scale is to maximize retention and get good referrals. So conducting yourself, being decent. And like with Matt, what sold me from my perspective, like I had a hell of like, not to toot my own horn, I've had a hell of a transformation with the last 2 years, just like physique wise. And I've like working with you guys, like opened me up to physique development and hobby building. And I was like, this is insane. Like, I love this. The passion was brought back because I was putting the effort in before. I just wasn't getting the results because I exhausted my own knowledge basis. Yeah. But with Matt, it was first off, he was just like, why are you doing, I'm getting pain in my leg. Why are you training like that? I was like, I don't know.
I know, he called you out, didn't he?
It's like, why? And that's what sold me.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's like, especially with men who train, I've been trained 10 years. I thought I knew it all training. I don't need help with training, maybe nutrition. I don't need help with training. And what really convinces and sways them is showing them, if you zoom outside of the day and look at the weekly volume and look at the strategy of, are you actually in progressive overload, or is your central nervous system so shot that you can't actually recover and you're not in progressive overload? Looks like you are, John. Yes, I think you're right, Matt. Right, what do I do? And it's just like, okay, so that's what sold me. And I got on board, obviously got great results with the fat loss phase, never been that lean before, bought the trust immediately within sort of like 3 months. I worked with him previously, which kind of helped because I trusted him before through just seeing his service. So I was biased in that regard. However, what sold me is just like, you know, I'm with him now. Like my plan, technically, my volumes and sets haven't really changed. There was a year and a half, like, where it hadn't changed.
Yeah.
But it's just him giving energy and excitement into the check-ins and voice notes, showing me what's coming up, revealing what was happening, teaching me about my conditioning, teaching me about how to look at stuff, teaching me how he sees things, and opening up more possibility into the world of what I could achieve. And it's like, shit, I can actually go a lot further than I think I could. And, you know, if you attract the right people, there's billions out there, by the way. If you attract the right one, there's loyalty. And I'm just like, I'm loyal. Yeah. And I will stay with Matt because of what he's done for me. And he's helped me out in dire times. He's put in a little extra effort, making my plan available, helped me out when I technically wasn't paying him. And I've got a memory. I haven't forgotten that. Yeah. And I'll come back. So it's the relationship building, which really lasts for 2 years plus. And just showing people the horizon, just show people the horizon of what's coming up. It sold the shit out of me. Yeah, it's so, for me, everything you're saying there, like that's what I see in Matt, and that's all I ever want to do for my clients. And what's been really nice recently with, you know, the clients that I do have, they all value what I've done over the 12 years. So like yourself with Matt, you know, he's been doing this for over 15 years and he's been through the phases you've been through. When you have a receptive client, right? So when you have someone that's like, do you know what? You've done this for however many years. You've been through things that I haven't been through yet, but you're going to potentially be able to redirect me so I don't go through the harder times in the physique development realm, you know, when things happen, like I mentioned earlier as an example, right? So if you struggle with scale weight, very, very common in the bodybuilding realm. So if I can utilize what I've learned, the trauma I've been through, and I mean, there is trauma there, you know, 10 plus years of living by scale weight. If I can look at that objectively as a coach, why did it affect me so much for 10 years? Now, when I have a client who's in a similar route or direction on this journey, what can I do as a coach to educate them, to support them, and to be able to take off 10 years of maybe having some troubles there, or dumb down the troubles they're facing by giving them the tools? And if it gets in their own head, can they come to me and speak about it? Do they know that I'm not just blowing smoke up their arse and I'm saying, look, this is what's happened this week. This is why. This is what we need to do. And it's so important. And it does, like you say, that relationship, that's solid. Like, it's like family, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like, I'll prioritize paying Matt over anything. Like, like anything else.
Okay.
Like even like, you know, when I was struggling at certain points last 2 years, and I had to choose what I did.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, it's how you do it. It's like, it's little stuff. Like, you know, when I was talking to him, like when he first, like, we started working together, he didn't pressurize. He just like, there you go, mate. He did me a loom. He showed me what's coming up, got me excited. And then it's like, when are you going to start? And I said, sorry, mate, I need to do this, need to do that. It's like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So very relaxed. And then we kind of officially started, and he just helped. And it's just like, he cared. It was obvious that he cared. And, you know, that it's just the trust that builds. And then it's just like, you know, when the time is right. And I think so many people try and get it now. And again, we come back to, if you just be patient, sometimes you just got to wait for the right time. And genuinely, people just need to wait for the right time. If they say they're moving house, probably not the right time. Do not, oh, you know, and then traditionally, if I don't close them now, they're going to lose interest, and I need to close them, get them on a deposit, get them to sign up now, get some form of commitment. No.
Yeah, because they
Leave
quit.
it to, they quit. You just chased away a client, and you create it. No matter how much help you could have worked with them for years, like in the DMs, or helped them for years. Sorry, in DMs.
Matt's done that.
Yeah, Matt's done that. And then if you just pressurize them and just push, all the hard work is undone, because that level of distrust is done. So it's, and you know, saving people the heartache and the trouble of what you went through as well. It comes across. And I think I've been helping one of my clients recently who's got it depends on what market you're in. His gen pop, so some people just don't do the fucking work, which I find anathema. I find it so alien. Just like, if you want to, you're paying someone, do the work. I love this shit. Like I was walking 5 hours a day on my mini treadmill. I loved it. I'm a monster. I was like living the life. But some people just won't do anything. And I think it's from the coach's perspective, it's just giving them the choice. Like, don't tell them what to do, but you explain to them, like, right, you've hired me. Part of that is my responsibility to hold you accountable to the goals you want. I can't lower the standard for you, because if I lower the standard, that won't produce what you want. So my job, as part of my job, is to say, we need to keep this. I'll help you facilitate that, but I'm not going to lower it. So what are you going to do? What are we going to do? Let's work at it. And then it's just, you know, giving them the option and then extrapolating. Like, if you're doing what you're currently doing, you're not going to get that result by this time frame. I just don't want you to be disappointed.
For sure.
But if you wanted that result by this time frame, this is what we need to do. There's no shortcuts to success. Successful people pay the price. Failures negotiate. I don't want you to waste your time and be disappointed by trying to negotiate the price for what you want. And it's just like giving them the power, though. And all of a sudden they were like, sorry, you're right. And I've gone to Matt and I've like said stuff like, what was it? I was talking about, I can't remember what exercise or what. I was looking at exercise selection or something like that. And I was saying, Matt, what about this? And he was like, you could do that, and he just explained it. And he's like, yeah, okay.
I just
walked in. But what you need, again, so many coaches will just say, it's hard because you're so focused on this, that, and buzzing and all these notifications, and then you just want to solve the problem, next problem, solve the problem, next client. Yeah. Whereas if you just hold it, and then just explain your reasoning, so they understand it, teach them the lesson, and then they go, no, you're right, thank you. So Matt just explained the lesson to me. He's like, okay, what did you want to do? Okay, I'll explain where that leads. And I was like, no, I don't want that. Okay, I'll stick to the plan. I
think, well, it's like this, actually Stan and I spoke about it, and, looking for the sort of sexy stuff, right? So,
oh yeah, always.
People want, keto or whatever it may be. You form these sort of tribes, and you also get this in the coaching space. I don't know if you've noticed it, but like tribes of people that empower each other only, and they become almost on a pedestal in their own mind, because they've got, it could be quite a small group, right? It could be 4 or 5 people. They empower each other, they like each other, they shit on everyone else. But again, back to what we first spoke about, building respect and building trust, what that also looks like from a client standpoint. If you've got a coach that, you may be looking at, or you're the coach that I'm talking about, and you've got this sort of hierarchy and you're in this space, and it's like, actually, you may feel unreachable to the client. And this is a conversation you and I had straight away when I first started out. It was like, if someone sees me winning Miss Universe, is that necessarily going to attract someone to have me as their coach?
Yeah.
Maybe not, because it's not attainable for everyone else. And that's not me being, you know, I want Miss Universe or whatever, but it's like a lot of people go, fucking hell, there's no way I could ever do that. She coaches people to do that. So I think sometimes, you know, if you're hitting these hierarchical circles, or, you know, you've done really, really well, what is the potential client going to see from that? Oh, I'm never going to be as good as these people, or I'm never going to achieve that physique. I'm not going to inquire because it's not attainable for me. I'm not in the clique. I don't know if I'll ever be, you know, if this person's in really real need of help, if they really want to achieve, you know, a big body transformation, that could be off-putting for them, and it may result in them just completely, you know, going in the opposite direction, may not even get a coach because they're put off by it. I'm sure you'll agree.
100%. Like, you just unattainable. Like, they could be intimidated by your success, because if they look at you on stage diced, and by the way, it's like, you know, it's not you being big-headed. The whole point of what that is, Miss Universe, is it's like you have to get to the top, right? So it's nature of the game. But people watching that, and let's just say they want to transform the way they look, and, you know, they're 30% body fat, they're not looking to get on stage. Anyone who looks at that will go, she's tanked. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, and it's just like you lose that affinity.
Yeah.
So a part of this is you can show off your journey every now and then, but it can't be the focal point. It's ratios. So this comes to the idea of niching down, and a lot of people, when they niche down on demographic, and the best way to do it is niching down on problems. So if you have clients, think about what their starting point is, and think about what a 2-year ideal outcome would look like. And then what you'll find is, in between those 2 points in time, you write down everything they go through. Write a big list, like, you know, what is struggles, barriers, hurdles, habits, mindset, everything, you know, write it down, and you'll find that there's commonalities. There's, like, I call them fundamental problems.
Yeah.
So it's like a content split. If you got 5, it's a bro split. If you got 3, it's a push pull legs, and that's your content split for the week. So, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, problem 1, 2, 3, and then Thursday, Friday, Sunday, problem 1, 2, 3. Saturday, always a dud. Never do Saturday. But anyway, that's how. And then if you are just aware of what the problems are that your ideal avatar, your target market face, you just need to feature more of that on your feed. You can still talk about yourself on stories. You can show off forecasts of it, but just it can't be the forefront, because that then creates this persona of, like, it will create a bit of a barrier for you.
Yeah.
Where if people feel like they can't reach out to you, that's an issue. So what we really need to do is, like, lubricate that process and just lube the wheels. That's not grease the wheels. This is what it's called. But we need to make it easy. Lube the wheel. Yeah. So we need to make it easy for people just to message you. And again, this comes back to impact. So if you are delivering good impact on your reels, and they're specific to those issues, they'll reach out.
For sure. I feel like as well, you know, when you do get into a position, in a very lucky position like myself, you know, having the podcast, it's, you know, I get messages from listeners, and it's truly everything to me, as you know, and I believe that everyone listening will know that I'm not just saying that. And, you know, if I get someone reach out through DM or whatever, you know, and they say, I listened to this episode. I've had people, John, that have said, you know, an episode's changed their life, and I'm like, holy shit, this is wild. You know, if I've always wanted to be the person that I maybe could have looked up to as I was going through the bodybuilding space and in life in general. And then I voice note them back, and, you know, I can't believe you voice noted me, Sarah Parker from the Beyond Condition podcast. And I'm like, what? And it's wild, you know, it is wild. And that gives me context into what we're talking about right now, that, you know, that, and you gave me that context when you first said to me, you know, it's not attainable, the content I'm putting out for people that I'm trying to reach to help. And that gives context as well. It's like, I'm just a normal human, I'm just a normal person, and I want to help people, and that is literally it. But it's trying to, and I always find, you know, when I write a post or I do a reel or whatever, I reread it, I look at it. You know, a reel takes 2-3 hours to make one reel that's, you know, a minute long, because I think, how is this being taken to someone that is maybe at the worst end of this. So if I'm talking about a sensitive subject, if someone's in a really bad spot, is this going to be received in the right way? And could it potentially give them a little bit of light, a little bit of help? And I think sometimes we do need to remember that, and also stepping into what that person is facing. So your example, 30% body fat, someone's sitting there thinking, I want to change my life and I do not know what to do. If you put out some content that is saying, well, I've done it, so you should be able to do it, that's actually going to be potentially, again, building a barrier to people going, I'm really fucking struggling here. I think sometimes we need to remember to almost try and get inside that person's head.
Yeah,
when they
100%.
What are they thinking?
Yeah, like what you said earlier, sorry to cut you off, but it's you're a really decent human being. You're just like everyone else.
Yeah.
Not to their eyes, you're not. When they look at those accolades, it's a reminder for them for how, well, okay, being extreme, how insignificant they are, how they've underachieved, how it makes them feel. So it's just, we don't think about these things because obviously your experience has been your experience, but other experiences, they've got context and stigma carrying with them. So it's, again, it's basics, like Stan talks about, with vertical diet and just nothing flashy. Understanding the target market is everything, because when you're creating content, communication, client fulfillment, anything, if you understand their headspace and your bit of content enters the dialogue they've been having with themselves the past, 2, 3, 4 weeks, you've just done it. You've just nailed it. And that creates that instant trust and affinity. And it's like spending the time to kind of go through that, like you're doing with the content, and just understanding, okay, what are the issues they're struggling with? How would they feel right now? And you just get that instant association. That's when you get someone message you on a voice note, or just someone message you saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's you," because they know you. And if you do it well, the benefits, you get someone on a call and they know everything about you. You've never met them before, but they've been watching you for 2 years or like 8, 9 months, and they get on a call and they're like, it's a done deal, and it's just, they just want to know how it's going to work. They just need to kind of that final jigsaw piece of like, just tell me how it works for me. And then you go X, Y, Z, and then, and they're excited. And guess what? You've done the work. And again, no one thinks about this. I think it's about like literally a junction between they've paid you and then it starts. No, all the hard work you've done with the content, that momentum carries through. So you've not only got a client from it, you've got a client with amazing energy, motivation, intent, and trust.
I love
and it's just like, that does not go anywhere. The hard work you've put into the content, I put it out, I've only got like 300 views and I got 4 likes. Yeah, but that's probably added on to another brick and another brick and another brick in that person's trust and relationship with you. And it compounds. And then when they do sign up with you, they're just going to keep going with you because they trust you already. And I just want to make a brief point. I mentioned it. So many people are looking for tactics like there's like things like called ManyChat or automations and setters and stuff. I've been through this escape with setters and appointment things. And again, it's like anything to remove you from your audience, don't do it.
Yeah.
It's just like, ManyChat, amazing for engagement. And again, I've watched so many videos. People have messaged me, how do I get my story views up? How do I get this up? How do I increase my views? How do I do this? How do I do that? And it's just like, I remember I was talking with Andy about it, but anything to remove you from communicating directly one-on-one with the audience, the person, do not do it, because you lose the affinity and you don't need it. No coach needs to be handling. You're not getting thousands of inquiries a day.
Yeah.
You can spend the time engaging with the person. And like you said, like if you zoom out and don't look at it like I need to get this many this month, because that's a miserable existence. But if you zoom out and just add the building block every day, consistency, just like your steps, your meals, the load in the gym, every day, just look at it like the same with how you're building your business. Take a little bit longer up front. You're not going to get 10K within 3 months. Well, you might, depending on where you start, but or depending on your audience size, but don't expect it. But guess what? Just keep doing it, and then it can compound. And 6 months to a year's time, you're going to be where you want to be. 12 months to 24 months time, you're going to be loving life, because if you just be consistent at it, and then it's literally life changing from that point onwards. Yeah. And it's like you said, the work you put into the content, it stays in people's headspace. You make impressions when you're delivering impact.
Yeah, I feel like that's so relevant, because when we look at, you know, being an online coach, both of us essentially are, yours is business, mine is physique, you know, mental health wise, as we touched on right at the start, you know, it can really get you down, and you can put so much effort into it. But I also think as well, when you do start to build a client base, if I have the majority of my clients like my post or like my reel, or, you know, I might get one client message me or mention it in a check-in and say, the reel you did the other day, fucking hell, it blew me away. You know, that's me. Or, wow, thank you so much for making that reel. That's retention. And that is also the likelihood of word of mouth going up tenfold, because your client is trusting you, again, giving them a voice, giving them, you know, their thoughts, their struggles, giving merit to that, and giving them useful tools to move forward. And they might send it to someone, they might then send it to someone else. You know, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. And you said that earlier, you know, you don't know who's seeing stuff, but if you can maintain integrity, and it's not always easy to not get caught in the rabbit holes of, you know, X person's got 80 clients, or etc., etc. But also in the bodybuilding space, I find myself that a lot of the successful coaches have had, you know, one or two clients that have gained massive success in the sport, and that's then grown their business from that as well. So they've worked with someone for a long period of time, they've got a really good result at a show or multiple shows. That coach has then suddenly become, you know, one of the top coaches. And I think that sometimes it's giving merit to that as well. These coaches haven't just sort of come on the scene and suddenly got 80 clients. They've had to work for that as well.
100%. I think the online space, there is a kind of bit of a false illusion created ever since COVID, and I was part of that for a couple of years. It's just the idea of like, oh, everyone's expected to get to like 5K within a certain time frame, or
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
I'll jump on and it's all about the money. It was literally like the focal point of like this financial target. We were talking to Mac about this, but you know, now you get to 10K, now you get to 20K. If you're not 20K, you're a loser. And it's just like, and it's just like, you know, it's the wrong thing to pay attention to, and it's the default. Everyone's just like, they need to hit this monthly revenue this month, next month they need to hit this month, and if you don't, your existence is miserable. Your happiness is just determined by how many clients you have on that time. And guess what? You're engineered, like, hope of gain is not as powerful as fear of loss or pain of loss. So whenever you do get a potential drop off, it hurts. And it's just that when you're just focusing on that, it stings, and it's going to sting more. So you're setting yourself up for suffering. Whereas you just, again, the expectation of just scaling so quickly, it really discredits the hard work going into the fundamentals, the service, and just working and being consistent in the quiet, in the rain, in another analogy, so on and so forth. But I've got actually a really good example of this. Is big 𝗬𝗏. Like, his content, he was posting 1 or 2 reels a day for 9 months.
Wow.
And for the first 5 months, he didn't get anything. He had 3,000 followers. He went up to 5, went back down to 3, nothing. And but he kept doing it, and it's the discipline to do it without the immediate return, or just, you know, it was he could getting better. Picking one thing, not one shiny object, not this, not that, not being distracted. One thing over and over again. The last 4 months, he went from 3.5K to 245,000 followers from the content strategy. And it just blew. And, you know, that later that year, 100 queries in a week. And it just compounds. But it was everyone looks at that and go, oh, one of his reels got 8 million. That's why he's successful. What did he do in that reel? I need to talk about, you know, blended bottle. I need to talk about this brand. It's like, you don't look at the 5 months of solid graft, layers and layers and layers and layers of it. You just look at the end result. And it's anyone who, you know, it's just that one outlet. The algorithm will give you a shot at one point if you just be consistent and focus.
Yeah, it's a fucker, the algorithm.
It's a fucker, but, you know, again, we're not here sucking teats, you know, for Mark Zuckerberg. You're not a content creator. You are a service, so you just got to give it impact, and then one will spike. You get a bit of exposure. In your example, you've got a coach working with a client who did really well, got a breakthrough result. That's just a level of exposure.
Yeah.
There, in your life, you will get those opportunities. Don't hunt them, create them by just working hard and just going them. In an ideal world, they'll come to you from like your third client, fourth client, whatever. You just don't know. But the quickest way to do it is just get your head down and focus on delivering the results, put in the groundwork, be consistent. And then that's the way of life normally. It normally is one bit of exposure and it's like bang. And then overnight success. No, motherfucker.
Yeah,
just like,
but there's a lot of work that goes into it beforehand, and there is that sort of grind to get there. Like we say, it doesn't just happen overnight. And I think that as well, there is merit in, and it's something that I always stand true to myself, giving something for free. Again, it's something, Matt and I spoke to you about with the business mentorship. It's like, what can you provide for someone that just is genuinely free, whatever shape or form that is. And for me, when we started out, you were like, you've got a podcast that's established. This is sick. And I was like, is it? Like, I didn't realize, how much substance there is in having a podcast that has been running for multiple years and an audience there. And, you don't directly make money from a podcast. A lot of people start podcasts and you've got to continually graft at that. But I was explaining this to a client the other day who's started up her own business as well. I actually pay to host the podcast per se, but I have gained long-standing clients from the podcast. Your example earlier rings true to me. When I get on a consult and the person knows me, it's like I'm their best friend because they've listened to me for, a number of years. And it's like, they already know who you are. They know how I coach. They know me. And that's very, very useful because, you then get on the call and it is like you already know each other. And then it's always coming back to, can you give something for free in the long-term thinking that could show someone that you're willing to help them? And that can be through content, that can be through a podcast, that might be from someone messaging you. It might even be a current client that's other half is struggling with something, right? And you can go, oh, okay, so your husband's struggling with X. I'll knock them up roughly how many calories to eat or something like this, thinking about what can you give. And that sometimes can be difficult if you start getting busy as an online coach. You've got paying clients, and I know myself, I get a lot of people reach out from the podcast and I will always message back. It's very, very important to me. But then it is, of course, trying to manage your own time and secure your own mental health, because it may not be a direct sell there and then, but you're still helping someone. So I suppose it depends what you're doing it for, right? Because I don't need to take money from helping someone that listens to my podcast. It's giving back to the community as well sometimes.
100%. You've got amazing community, mate. Like, honestly, when you did come to me and you had the podcast, I was listening to it. What was it? Like, you're talking about tiger bread or something. I remember watching one episode. It's like something like tiger bread and ticks or something. And it was the most, I was literally cackling on the treadmill. But again, it's just, it's tribes. Like, found your tribe and you're building a tribe, a community here, which is awesome. And it just attracts people. And then, you just doing this, what you're doing now is giving. But for my advice for anyone struggling out there who just doesn't know where to draw the line between, like, I've got clients who pay me and then I want to help people, the easiest thing to do is use resources to help. So if you create a resource, this is what a lead magnet is, if we want to be candid about it. But like any sort of helpful resource, like it could be like a little video course, it could be a PDF, anything but make it genuinely useful, applicable and practical. But that's the easiest way to differentiate it. So if anyone's coming to you, you can message them, you can talk to them, but if you're going to help them, use a resource as a vehicle to help them. And that's for free. And then anything one-on-one should be paid for in theory. It's a very clean way to differentiate between I don't want to coach people in DMs where other people are paying me money. I don't want to feel like I'm robbing them off. So you can create resources. By the way, you create the resources for the clients, make them happy, use it, get their feedback, and then you can take some of it. And that's probably the way to do it. But what's quite useful is, if you get a situation where you're giving out the help and people keep coming back to you, you're well within your rights. Because again, you've zoomed out, you've built the trust first. Just something along the lines of, because I know a lot of people struggle with, like, how do I move coaching. And you could say something like, you know, fantastic. I'm glad I'm glad I've been able to help so far, or I'm glad you've seen results from this. That really, that's exactly what I designed it for. So I'm buzzing. Have you considered the results you get if we work together?
Yeah. Yeah.
So something like that, or a phrase where you can just broach it, where you just oppose it, can be a really clean thing for them to kind of to go into, like, do you want to talk about continuous development? If they don't, that's fine. You don't push them, but it's a clean way to kind of get them into the space of, like, do you want to have a talk about working one-on-one, rather than feeling like you don't know how to broach it. You're giving out more and more help, and you want to give and help your community, but you need to be paid. And the best way to help them is getting them on board. So that can be quite helpful. That's quite useful, as well as just probably restricting your time, because again, the mental headspace of, like, trying to be on social media is very hard. And I think just making it clear it's your choice is useful. You're in control. And, you know, if you're working with clients, and it depends what your day looks like. Like, some people it works really well for. They have like 3 windows in the day, you know, morning, evening, lunch, and like evening time. They're like sort of like 40-minute windows. That's when they pick up the phone and respond to all the clients. So they're responsive at certain timeframes. It organizes their life. And then they're committed to doing an hour of outreach or an hour of messaging people, or it just stops it coming through ad hoc. I think it's like focus, really. It's like you choose how to block your time out. And when you're in that time, do it, because productivity, it's volume, but it's also quality. So if you can if you're doing it, do it. Focus on that, do it. And then when you're not doing it, try and relax. It's easier said than done. But night mode, turning your phone upside down, leaving it in another room, just chilling out. Matt said this to me, you got to fill your own cup up first, because you're useless. Like, if you're doing a disservice to your clients if you're just semi-distracted and if you're not providing an answer. And out here in America, where I'm like 5 hours behind in the UK, where a lot of clients are 4 hours at the moment, but I would always get my phone and I'd have like 85 messages, and I'd start my day with a shot of adrenaline, like, fuck, I've got to do this. I'm behind. The anxiety is really bad, like headspace. And I was just frustrated. Plus, I had loads of stresses from the company I was working with. There's just a lot going on, and a lot of stuff going on, basically. And I soon figured out, like, the quickest response is not the best. So if I can go and work out for an hour and bring my frequency up, I will be able to deliver a lot more help in those messages with enthusiasm, rather than me just trying to do it as soon as possible just to tick a box. And again, it's so hard to be present and be in that, zoom out, you know, be present. What am I trying to do here? Rather than just react, because I was just stuck reacting, and then it just felt like I had no life, and it was just endless. Like, I've got to do this, got to do that, got to do this. Always behind. More work. And the focus of me in those, when I was technically working, which I wasn't, was awful. I just had a lot of time spent doing square root of naff all, really, in terms of productive.
A top tip as well, if possible, when you are going to do a post or a reel that's, you know, aimed at a certain target market, or rather than just, you know, a post how your day's been or whatever, if it is an informative reel or something along these lines, I try and post it when I'm going to have, you know, potentially for the next couple of hours after posting it, I'm available to respond to comments, or, you know, if someone was to DM me about it. That's a tip I always try and share as well, because you can then be available for, you know, a couple of hours after that, if content is something that's driving your business. And on your sort of talks of mental health there, and looking after yourself, I think something that we could talk about as well is, if you do get clients that leave you, or, you know, potentially another coach has spoken to them. We spoke about this before recording, and you've mentioned it as well, how hard that can be. And I know myself, you know, if someone leaves and then later on down the line they're with a different coach, I think, fuck, you know, that person meant a lot to me as a client. You can become very invested in your clients. Now, on top of me saying, you know, you've got to let someone go their own way, and you haven't done anything wrong, is there any advice you would give? Because it does hurt.
It does, yeah. It's you know, it is going to hurt, because you're forming a relationship with these people. Especially some really good clients, and it feels like a little bit of a breakup. You know, you get messages, and I you know, hi John, I just want to say I just know.
I know.
And you get that immediate, like, yeah, it just tightness of the chest. And I think probably the most useful thing is ask, just get reasons why. You know, again, if you can get a reason why and just understand it and realize that it might be the best thing for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because okay, it's two things. Okay, two examples. Well, it could not be, and if it's not, you probably need to explain why.
Yeah.
Say your piece. So, okay, two examples. Let's just say, yeah, if a client leaves you and it's not the right thing to do,
yeah,
in their eyes, let's just say they're not holding to that standard, and they don't want to do the work, and they're just not doing it and have got the result. Either just see if they're free for a quick call, or send them a video or a voice note where you say your piece and just say, I am failing in my role to serve you if I don't keep you accountable. This is not the right decision for you, because it's not going to get you what you want. It's taking away. And I honestly believe that it's just temporary pain that's wanting you to do this or whatever. If it's another coach, it's slightly different. Yeah. If it's another coach, you can just ask. And if you genuinely don't believe they'll provide a better service than you probably have to phrase it slightly differently. Like, yeah, I genuinely believe, I don't think changing the plan right now is going to produce what you want. I completely respect your decision either way. However, I really don't think it's the right move. I've just got to say, and what I honestly believe. And you say your piece. Don't be afraid. Don't just, okay, fine. You know, if you genuinely believe it's not the right move for them, for their best interest, say it. Voice note, call, or video. But after hearing the feedback, if it is, it's meant to be.
Yeah, I believe
and
that.
Again, accept it. Like, and it sounds woolly, doesn't it? But
yeah, but you've got to be it's going back to integrity, isn't it? Because
yeah,
if you're not serving the purpose for the client and someone else has something that you can't provide for whatever reason, you know, maybe that is the right move for them. It is hard though.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I think again, so a lot of what, yeah, if your service is good and we're conducting ourselves, we're being a human being, we're being honest, we're being our integrity is high on content, on service, on the call structure. If you're conducting yourself how we should, and the other person leaves, they are not right for you, and it's them. And so don't feel bad about it. And I think sometimes the pain, if it's going to another coach, I can understand. But again, they're not meant for you. If they're going to treat you like that, they're not worth your time and your energy. So again, acceptance, you'll be surprised once you hear it and you just accept it and move on. You will feel so much better. And it's just got to accept it. Plus, there's so many people out there. There's infinite. And I think a lot of the pain can come from fear of losing money. And it's just like, shit. Or it's not even fear of losing money. It can be just the feel of going backwards. It's the anti-progression hit. So it's just feeling like you've done something wrong, or feeling like you're going backwards, or feeling like you're not good enough.
You're failed.
The failure, not good enough, doing something wrong. We know that's not true, because we're conducting ourselves in the manner we want to, and it's the person who failed you, and they're not living up to who the person you want to coach. Going backwards in fear of like losing something, or moving backwards. There is infinite people out there, and if you just imagine getting 15,000 notifications all at once, what that would look like, your phone blowing up. But it's just I always think about that whenever you lose someone, or when you have that thought. Just imagine your phone going fucking mental, like that. And that is the reality of what is possible. The amount of people out there who need your help. Look, there's at least, given the population of the planet, there's at least 15,000 people who desperately need your help and would love to work with you if they only knew about you. So there is always more out there. So think about that, accept it, move on, because the worst thing you can do is dwell on it. And again, whatever you believe, if you dwell on it, you kind of have that negative emotion and it robs your energy, you might attract more of it. So it's just moving on. But it's not easy, mate. It's not easy. It's a journey.
Yeah, it is. I think that, you know, there's certain times where you don't, I think, not wanting to fail when you're doing this for the right reasons. You know, if you genuinely want to help people, like you say, get the feedback. Is there something that I could have done better? If that's appropriate. If it's someone that's just saying, I want to stop it and they're moving on, if they are going to another coach, there's so many different scenarios. But for your own mental health, if you conducted yourself with integrity, with authenticity, and you've lived up to what you've promised, as it were, in the consult, I can provide a plan to get you from X to Y. If you do the plan, if you have that communication, all you can do is your absolute best. And before we wrap up, I've got a couple of questions from one of my clients who is starting her own. She's just in the early days of PT and online business. Her name is Elle. She's going to listen to the episode, but she sent a couple of questions in, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is, one thing everyone is told will work and you must do it to succeed, but it didn't actually help. And it's it's so funny. We've got an open relationship and it's pretty much bullshit. So we've of course spoken about quite a few things that relate to that. But is there anything else in that, like it's like you have to do this to be a good online coach? We see a lot of stuff. You probably see it from a different point of view to me. Is there anything that you've come across that's like, maybe stay in your own lane?
You don't have to do calls, or you don't have to close. You don't have to get the sale up front. That's a big one that people take for granted. They think you have to do. So you don't necessarily have to do that. Yeah, you don't have to. You can charge people up front. You can charge monthly. There's nothing really you have to do. There's nothing you should do. There's nothing you have to do. There's only what will probably be optimal for you. So it depends on the person.
Yeah.
Look, if you're terrified of speaking in front of camera,
yeah,
use voiceovers. Worst case scenario, use a voiceover, or just get really good at writing good descriptions. If you're terrified of sales, you don't have to. I think actually, do you know what? That's probably the biggest thing. You do not have to be good at sales.
Yeah, I'm shit at sales, John. You know that.
You don't
I'm so shit.
Yeah, like you don't like it. I think that's to be fair. Sorry to answer your viewer's question. You do not have to be good at selling people or using. You don't have to be potentially good at marketing or sales to make it online. You just got to have the passion for helping people and put their interests first. Because when you do that, you sell subconsciously. So look, if you all sales is just communication. And if your confidence is high because your service is really good, your tonality will be on point, which accounts for about 48% of communication. The rest is body language, and then only like 7% is the words you use. So this is why, ideally, you want to be face to face, because if you're just using words, you're missing out on a huge part and context of how you communicate. But you don't need to use scripts. You don't need to know what to say or whatever. All you got to do is be proud of what you do, enjoy it, and talk to people about it and show them what they could achieve. So don't need to do sales and marketing. What is marketing? It's just, from my perspective, it's just connecting the A to B. Like your service helps a certain number of people. All you got to do is understand them and then put that out there, do it consistently enough, and you'll bring those people to you.
For sure. And that goes with, who is your target audience? And like you say, I really like you said about looking at problems rather than, essentially we can have an avatar as an ideal client, right? And start to work on that. But then that expansion of, okay, so what are the common problems that I can help with? And also staying in your lane with that, not promising things like I can improve X, Y, Z, and it's not your forte,
100%, mate. Like you do not have to reinvent you don't have to continue to come up with ideas. Like stay in your lane because you'll own it, you're confident in it, and you can sell in it because you're confident in what you do. Just stick to that and talk about it over and over again. You're in people's mindscape for like 10 seconds a day max, and they're not going to remember what you did 2-3 months ago, like massively. And even if they do, repeat the message. So it's just like you've just got to go over it again and again. And when you understand the problems you solve and you have that in your content split, your weekly content posting schedule, you have different angles of those problems, but you're just going over the problems again, over and over and over again. Because you do that, you will continually attract the people with the problems that your service is designed to solve. It's not rocket science. So it's just really acutely understanding what those problems are and then communicating them and helping people get around them, and then sharing your stories, going through them, creating that affinity. And that's marketing. And then all sales is being able to talk to someone confidently enough to communicate what you can do for them and where it take them.
Yeah, that's the scary bit, John. I've got better at it with your help, right?
Yeah. You don't even need to think about like sales. Like, okay, look at it like this. I think because we don't, again, with a good approach and good content, you don't, all the call is just like, when do you want to start? This is how it's happening. Because that's it, you know, like they built the trust, you know, when you focus on building trust and giving help, they already trust you. They might just need to find out the details, which is like, okay, for someone from 30% body fat to get down to like, you know, let's just say 18, what is your expectation in time frame? What are the just stepping stones to get there? And what questions do they have? And that's it. Because sales is not you just saying like, oh, I've ticked this box, I've got them in this position, now I'm gonna fucking close them with a stamp. It's just like, no, what questions do they have? Well, ask them about what, because they're coming to you with stigma and like, just, I want to know how it works. You know how it works. They don't. So what do you want to know? And then you just go through it. When do you want to start? Yeah, no problem. Anything holding you back? No worries. If you want this, that's it.
Yeah, I think as well, you know, like you say there, it's almost coming across in this calm manner. You know, if I was going to go and buy something if I was going to buy a car or something, if someone was like, right, get this, pressing me, and I'd be like, fuck that, I'm going somewhere else. If someone said to me, you know, this is what would be the best for you, this is what you're describing you want, and this is how much it is, you know, there is other options, and being calm, it's like you gain that trust and you think, oh, I'm going to buy from this person, because you buy into the person. And that also feeds into a second question of biggest asset to building an online business, not person specific, but she put in the voice note about almost like if a coach was listening to this, listen to our chats today, John, and an online coach went, I never fucking thought of that. That's something that would really help me build an online business. So that validity. And is there anything you can think of that would be maybe something that an online coach wouldn't have heard before? I know it's a bit of a tricky question there, because we've already spoken about so much.
Trust.
Yeah.
Trust is the sole commodity. Commodity. That is the one thing which is going to determine the future of the space. Because through the last 5 years, it's been flooded with tactics for tactics' sake, and just like, quite frankly, wankers. And it's just like, it's just full of it. And people are fed up with being hard closed, or being pushed, or being this. And, you know, how are you doing? You got a dog? Do you like walking? How many steps do you do? Do you want to talk about my service? And it's just like, it's just constant, and it's been bombarded. The one asset you can have is a bit of fucking patience to step back and build the trust first. Now, to be a bit more helpful, a resource would be great. So a way to build that trust for complete strangers outside of producing content relevant for them. What do they struggle with? If you understand what that first problem is, and I look at it like this. I can't remember who said it. It's one of the guys. I can't remember who said it, but he put it in a really good. Now he used a really good analogy. Like, okay, point A is them they're starting position with you. Point B is 2 years ideal outcome. Now you've got a long list of dominoes in between those 2 points, and you've got to tick off each one to take them and transform them from this person at point A to the person at point B. This resource you're going to create, it should absolutely obliterate that first domino out the park.
Okay. Yeah.
So that first problem, isolate the resource around that first problem. So just focus on what is the initial issue that people, what is the first thing that, you know, if they joined you, what would you do to get the low hanging fruit? What would you do initially? Now, over deliver on that one thing. That's how you can really, really, really make an amazing first impression by giving away so much, but leaving the rest of the line of dominoes to be tackled by your core service of what you charge for. So this first domino, what is it? What's important for your target market? Create something which just they can apply instantly and get an amazing result, and then give it out without expectation. That's probably that's the one thing you can do to just every day give it out without expectation to the people who need it, to relevant people. Spend your time helping people, doing that without expectation. You will do that, you'll win it. I'm doing it right now with clients. we're doing it. I've done it myself. It's done it. So, and again, it's just like a little bit of patience to step back, and it is the trust building. So, content, specificity towards the problems, but also if you can create something rather than helping people one-on-one, it's just a more efficient model to create something and give out. And then it's just statistics of finding the people who need it now. And then the people who don't need it now, they've still got it. They might come back to you in a month's time, 2 months' time. So if you can do that consistently, just keep doing it. That's it.
I think as well, not being scared to give too much sometimes, because I think the way you described it, some people go, oh, if I give them something to crush that first domino, they don't need me. But that's where you've got to think, you have so much value as a coach once you realize what your service offer is, and and what your target audience is. And I think that's a great way to sort of close it out there. Remembering your value. You said it rightly earlier, filling up your cup to offer the best service, ensuring that you still give back to yourself, and that you give the best service by doing that, by looking after yourself as well. And if you lose your way, reflect on it, actualize it, support network around you, speak to your people. If you've got a business mentor like the services you offer, if you've got a coach, if you've got friends, whoever that may be, lean on other people as well, because sometimes it can feel everything's coming on top of you. We've both been there, right? Building an online business, it's not easy, but it is rewarding if you can stick to those core values and look after yourself at the time and build your circle of friends around you,
100%. Can I quickly add this? Because actually it's very relevant for what you said. In terms of what value, your value as a coach, it's the process of the relationship building. It's not just the information. The information, anyone can get it right now. And, if anyone can go on ChatGPT or just research on Google before ChatGPT is invented, why isn't everyone fucking tanked and ripped? Because we get in our own way. So your value, I say this time and time again, when you do your check-ins, the importance of the check-ins is everything, because people do not get results from the plan. They get results from your feedback and you measuring their response to the plan. So again, people get results not by following the plan on its own. They get results by listening to the coach's feedback once they found out how their body responds to the plan. That's the value of a coach. So you can never give that away in a resource, and you can give fucking everything away in information. That will build more trust up front to then turn their direction and look at you. And then they will stay with you because of you learning together how their body responds. And it's the relationship. That's the community. It's the person. It's the relationship. It's not the fucking information.
I love that. What a way to wrap it up. Absolutely love that. I'm so glad we did this, John. And
I'm buzzing, man. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've had Stan on. We've mentioned him a few times now because he is
the White Rhino. I've loved it because
I know.
I shared you had him on your podcast, and I was listening to him that day, and I shared on my story, and he reshared me, and I literally put "love you, mate," and he put the rhino emoji, and then heart. It's like, yes.
It's fucking so cool. Like, I love this job. Well, not I say it's job, but I it's
love what you do.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate it. And I'll put your Instagram handle in the description. But if anyone wants to reach out to John, if they've got a question, if they want to DM you, if they want to inquire out business coaching, I'm sure you're happy. Like we've spoken about today, giving something for free. John is legit, guys. He is genuine, and he will help if he can. And of course, you've helped me become a successful coach. You've helped Matt, and you've helped many people. So from me, from my heart, you believed in me when I did not believe in myself. And I'm not going to cry, John, because that means a lot to me. And I mean that, because without you, I wouldn't be where I am today. Now I'm nearly crying, so
I'm getting a little bit shaky. I've got to do fucking upper body now. I've got to go and smash the gym, and I'm going to be lightheaded. But now, generally, mate, this is why, obviously, this is why I'm spending my time doing this is everything, because I was fortunate to be introduced to this space, which I'm forever grateful for. But meeting people like yourself, this is what it's all about. Just finding the right client, making that connection, and seeing where you were working in the gym and seeing where you are now. It fills me with such joy, because you were robbed in that space. And I've got the benefit. I work with like almost 200 people now, so I do have a benefit from seeing the raw materials in people. And you're not even fulfilling your potential yet, but it's amazing watching you unfold and see you can go. So you're still growing, you're still going further, but it's an amazing process to kind of watch it happen. And as I said, for anyone who wants to message, I'm not going to hard sell. I always give you, I'll put your best interest above mine. I always give you honest expectation. I'll try and help to the best of my ability, whatever I can do for you, I will. But yeah, if anyone does want to reach me, you'll speak to me. I'm never going to use a fucking chatbot.
No, I'm not. I can't do it. I can't do it. Thank you, John. All the love, all of the time. My G.
Legend. Thanks, mate.
See you later.
Hey.